Today I want to show you guys how to install a front and rear dash cam on your ND Miata, particularly how to tuck the wires so that you don't really see them while you're driving. This dash cam is the same one that I've been using on my car for about 2 years now, and it works great. So I will provide a link down in the description below where you can get this one, but this technique should work with any dash cam, and these principles will apply to other cars besides the ND as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Once you have the dash cam mounted where you want it, the first thing we're going to do is remove this side trim panel here. So we're going to remove this panel by pulling the whole thing towards the inside of the car and then pull it out from the dashboard. And then you'll notice that this tweeter speaker has a wiring harness and it's attached to that panel. I've never been able to actually pull this harness connector out. So what I do instead is just pull the entire speaker out of this plastic panel and just set that down to the side. Now with this plastic panel here removed, we want to go ahead and plug the power cable and the rear camera into this main dash camera here. For the purposes of filming, I did remove the rear view mirror. You won't have to do this when installing this on your own car. I just did this to improve the camera angle. So starting with the power cable here for the camera, we'll go ahead and plug it into the camera itself to make sure that we have just the right amount of slack. And then between this top windshield frame panel and the windshield itself, there is a gap up here. You can actually push the cable through. And it looks like we don't need to take this panel off because there is a gap all the way down where we can just feed the wire through, kind of push it by hand all the way down the side. And then it's going to run down here and fit underneath that panel that we just removed. Since the power cable for this particular dash cam uses a 12-volt outlet, we're going to plug it into the outlet that's down here in the passenger footwell. And the plug for the dash cam here is too thick to run through here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and peel back this rubber trim, and this will give us access here in order to squeeze the cable behind the dash. We'll do a similar thing with the rear camera, and then I'll show you guys how to route it all the way back to the rear end of the car. Now for the rear camera, we're going to mount it right here up under the bumper. I'm not going to center it because eventually we probably will install a backup camera for this car, which will sit in the middle. So I'm going to have this offset just a little bit, but make sure this rear underlip here is completely clean because we are going to use the supplied sticky tape in order to stick the camera up here. And then the wire itself, we're actually going to run up through the little hole here for the license plate light, and it's going to give us access to bring the wire through the trunk and then into the car. So apply the sticky tape to this bracket for the rear camera itself, and then we'll attach it to the bumper of the car. And go ahead and remove this license plate light that you're going to run the wire through because this dongle here is a little bit too thick to fit between the bumper and the light itself. So go ahead and remove that so that way we can feed the wire through easier. After mounting the camera to the bumper, we want to remove this plastic trim panel here in the trunk, and then we'll be able to feed the wire through the trunk and under the carpet. So this part was really difficult to film, and you do have to get on the ground and get up underneath the car in order to run the wire for this rear camera. But we basically ran it up behind the bumper and then through the trunk. You'll see here that I poked a hole in this rubber grommet and actually fed the cable right through here. Now to run the wire for the rear camera, we need to remove this door sill trim plate as well as the rest of the rubber stripping up here, and then remove this other panel right here at the back of the passenger compartment. We're going to take the wire, run it along the door sill here, and then through this hole, which leads right back into the trunk. As you can see here, there's a pretty narrow window. You can see the sunlight right through there, this narrow little channel that follows these wires that we can run that rear camera wire through. So at this point, it might be helpful to take a coat hanger or something a little bit stiff to try and help feed the wire through so it doesn't bunch up and get caught on other wires and brackets down in there. Once you've got the cable here through into the trunk, go ahead and pull some of the slack here through, and we'll go ahead and attach it down here to the camera wire itself, and then we can just hide it underneath the trunk carpeting like this. And then once we place that other panel on here, it's going to hide the cable completely. Now with all this excess on this side, we can just kind of bundle it together, tuck it under some of the existing wires back here, And then again, once we place those panels back in, you won't be able to see these wires at all. And now you can take this plastic trim piece and then go ahead and reattach it to the windshield frame of the car. And then the last thing to do is plug the power cable for the entire dash cam system into that outlet down there in the passenger footwell, and then use a zip tie or something similar to try and tuck those wires up under the dash, so that way a passenger's foot doesn't touch them and that they aren't visible. So now this is what it should look like when it's all said and done. You can't see really the wires at all except for right next to the dash cam itself. So let's go ahead and turn on the car and see if it works. There we go. We do have power. You can see the rear dash cam over here on the side. Looks like I need to go ahead and insert the SD card, but everything works. It is charging, so that is a job well done. So that is how you install a dash cam in a Miata and then go ahead and hide all the wires as well. I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. If you did, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, make sure to leave all your questions and comments down below, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.